Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ralph Casals, your town manager, town of Cutler Bay. Thank you for joining us here virtually and some of the folks here in the audience. This is my what we call open mic night. And for the folks that thought I was going to do karaoke, I'm not going to do karaoke. It's really more of an update to the community of what's going on in the town and a lot of different details. So again, this is something that I do twice a year. And I'd like to, first thank Councilmember Lord for being here in the audience and the rest of the town council that are watching us online and virtually, and also the folks that are here in the audience as well. You gotta get the audio on this thing. It's speeding back. Yeah, so sorry, I have to get some technology issues here. Here you go. Get it. Mm-hmm. Yep. So let me try to get this control going here. We can, Mauricio. We'd like to introduce this is Rod Gibson, our communications manager. Rod. We have Mauricio Molino, our town clerk. We have Romy. There she is there for my administrative assistant there. So now what we're going to do, hopefully everyone can see my little PowerPoint here. And we're going to have breaks in between. So we'll have like little different topics, and we'll have times for folks to ask questions either in the audience here as well as online that we are broadcasting this through Facebook. So we have folks here monitoring the Facebooks, and we have the folks here in the audience. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule on a Monday night. So briefly, our town mission. What we have here is that the town council work together to make Cutler Bay an excellent place to live, work, and play. And you can read the rest of it here. I don't want to take up a lot of time for that, but I think it's very important for us to talk about our mission statement, also the vision for the town. The vision for the town is that Cutler Bay will be recognized as one of the most desirable communities in South Florida to live, work, and play. And again, you can read the rest of it here for our schools and what have you. So I want to try to get right into the meat of it. I mean, Cutler Bay, as you know, we're incorporated in 2005, coming up for our 20-year anniversary this year, November. It's going to be a commercial plug for that later. So we want to celebrate that. We have approximately 45,000 residents. Our median age, as well as our home size. This is all from the Census Bureau. So we are considered a medium-sized city in Miami-Dade County. And we have over 19,000 housing units there. So we have an elected board, the mayor, vice mayor, and 3 council members that are here. And I have the privilege of working for the best council that I think in Miami-Dade County. You can see as you watch our council meeting. So, I feel like I'm the luckiest manager here. We also have another charter official, which is Mauricio Molino. He's right there, our town clerk. And also our town attorney, which is Mitch Bierman, but we actually have a whole law firm. And then you can see our department heads here that we are all very proud of serving the public. Organization chart, number 1, top. You, the town residents, are there at the top, mayor and town council, and then we have the 3 charter officials, and then you have the rest of the departments that work under the town manager. Ways to communicate. A lot of times I get comments from folks that, well, we don't know what's going on. Well, one of the things is this venue that we have right now, but also we have at minimum 11 town council meetings. I know that sometimes the council say, wait a minute, we said 11, but we had like maybe, I think last year we had like 17, council meetings. So 3rd Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m., this very same room. And now that we have actually elevated the way we promote ourselves here, we actually have it now on our YouTube channel as well. And I've heard some feedback that compared from the way we used to do it before with Zoom, now to YouTube, it's a lot clearer. So that's something that's really good feedback. We also have we have 5 budget workshops and hearings a year. 2 are mandated by the state of Florida, which are called the public hearings. And then we have 3 budget workshops with the council, you, the public. So there's 5 times that folks get to see our budget process and how it's done. As I mentioned, we have, 2 open mic nights. We have one obviously today, March, and then we have it also in August. And then we have over 17 signature events throughout the year, that we have special events throughout the year. And that's where it provides the residents a nice casual way to just kind of mingle with town staff or elected officials while enjoying the events there. Kind of sometimes folks get intimidated coming to town hall. You know, this is our showroom here. You know, this is like, say, our stage here, but sometimes we like getting a lot of feedback just from a lot of town events there. So we're always there. And then we also have our email listing that we have. So if anything you remember tonight is, one, think about how you found out about this meeting, right? Either you were on an electronic newsletter, or maybe you were lucky enough a neighbor told you about it. Well, that's great, you know, but also the way to stay communicated with the town is with our e-notification. Rod Gibson, our communication manager, does a great job every 2 weeks. Not monthly, every 2 weeks, we put out a newsletter that we put out. And then also you'll get email blast from a lot of different events that we have coming up, and a lot of workshops, a lot of important workshops that may not be the town, but it might be a county, a federal or state or a Florida Department of Transportation workshop as well. And then we also have events that we have through direct messaging as well that you could, you know, contact Rod Gibson. And we have our monthly newsletters. And then we have our service requests. I always tell people, you know what, 3 o'clock in the morning, how do I submit a request? You go onto our website, submit a request, and it automatically populates and it gets emailed to that department head. So some of the recent outreach events that I've held is we had another one of these open mic nights back in August 2024 at the Holy Rosary School, with all the teachers and support staff there at the school, talking about our Franjo Road project that we're going to talk about later, and a lot of different things was going on in the town as well. We also had one with our friends at Mercedes-Benz. You know, as you know, that's one of the top Mercedes-Benz dealerships in the county. And there's over 140 people that work there. So I figured, you know, let's go out there and talk to those folks there, because they hear what's going on in the community, and they want to get a lot of feedback from us of what we know, the potential developments that are coming here. That was a great event that we held there back in December. And then most recently in February, I hosted a Realtors Roundtable, and that was very fulfilling for me. It's been like maybe 3 years since we did that in the past, and really we gathered the top 3 or 4 realtors in the town, but we also invited everyone in the town, and just get a lot of feedback of what do they hear, what's going on. I mean, these are the folks that are out there, you know, telling somebody, you know, invest a lot of money in Cutler Bay, their life savings, why they're moving here, what's the good, what's the bad that they hear. So it was a good exchange of information there with the realtors, and I thought I was going to do a lot more listening, but I was doing a lot more talking, you know. But it was a great exchange there. So thank you to the folks that participated. Again, one of the things that we're very proud of, that the town is still one of the lowest millage rates of the county. What's the millage rate? That is the property tax that you pay. Well, you see here in this chart, 2.832. What that means is that for every $1,000 of assessed value of your property, assessed value, not the market value, right? I always say the running joke, you want your property to assess very low because that's the taxes you pay very low, but you want the market value to be very high when you sell it, right? So we're still one of the lowest ones there in Miami-Dade County, 2.322. Again, one of here's where we've kind of kept our millage rate very stable. Again, 2.84332. So you can see that where we kept it kind of stable the last 3 years. And one of the things we're very proud of, we call what's called the fund balance. Our reserves are our savings account. We have over $26 million in our savings account. We're going to talk about that in a little bit later as well. So we have a really healthy savings account. We're in great financial shape. You can see just, in fact, I think at our last council meeting, we had our finance director, Robert Derry, provide a detailed report of our quarterly financial status. Quarterly, 4 times a year, our finance director provides that report to the council. That way, there are no surprises at the end of this year. Some of the topics that we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about a lot of status updates that we're doing with the town, a lot of different projects. We're going to talk about our Legacy Park, right there on Old Cutler Road. We're going to talk about the Southland Mall redevelopment project as well. Other upcoming developments that we have approved throughout the town. And then also capital improvements. What are we doing to reinvest money and to improve our roadways, our drainage property, our drainage water quality improvement projects, sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera. Franjo Road, Corinne Boulevard, complete streets project that we're getting ready to work on. ARPA, again, another acronym, American Rescue Plan Act. Those are the federal money that we received from post-COVID. And also the town's property acquisition. So the folks that have been following us, recently, a lot of the stuff you'll see already we've spoken about, but again, we want to try to capture a lot of the folks that haven't to get some of this information. And obviously our Cutler Bay Wetland Restoration Project that we're going to be talking about with our friends from the Army Corps Engineer. Folks, it's an $81 million project happening right in our own backyard. And then also, most importantly, one reason why I left this for the last is I want to leave everybody with one of the impressions that we have that you've heard the mayor and the county council talk about how important is relationships. Again, the relationships that we have with other federal, state, county, and school board members that we have. That's very important. I want to leave that. I could have led that in the front, but I want to leave that at the end because it's very important because it is a partnership. We're not doing it by ourselves. And then obviously we're going to have questions, but throughout the process here, we're going to have questions because again, the meeting's from 6 to 7:30. I mean, I could talk a lot, but I don't know. I might be worn out by that time. So status updates, some of the things we want to talk about. Blue Heron Park, the folks that live on the lakes by the bay, Isles of Bay Shore, as you know, the Blue Heron Park has been closed. And one of the things that we're working on with our friends from Miami-Dade County is making sure that we have developed a soil remediation plan. It was tested positive with high levels, exceeding levels for arsenic. That was a spin-off of when we were doing our legacy park that the Miami-Dade County Durham wanted us to go ahead and sample some other sites, and we picked Blue Heron Park. My luck, I guess, but also things happen for a reason, right? That park was transferred to the town. It's gone through it's called the Phase 1 engineering report. And it was transferred to town. So now we go out there and we sample and we find out that the arsenic levels are very high. So immediately I made the decision to close the park. Health safety reason, we're going to close the park. Yes, I'll take the emails and the calls. Why the park closed? Because of safety reasons. Once I found out about it, we want to do the right thing. So right now we're working back and forth with Miami-Dade County. We've had our consultant go out there and do a lot of sampling and boring, and there is arsenic in the soil. What we're trying to get now with Miami-Dade County Durham is to make sure we have what's called the soil remediation plans have been approved by the county, meaning how deep, how much it is going to take to remove that soil, how much it has to do. So we're in that final stages right now. I think the consultant had just submitted the report to Miami-Dade County Durham for them to review. Caribbean Boulevard Bridge. I know that we get a lot of folks saying, when are you guys going to finish that bridge? Well, you guys is really Miami-Dade County. Caribbean Boulevard is a county-owned and maintained road. The bridge project is actually what's called the stormwater treatment project. If you look at the profile of it, it's almost like a little hourglass, right? And this is supposed to be to increase the drainage on all the lakes, all the canals that empty out to a lot of the finger channels upstream of there. So the latest that we have is that the county fired the contractor that originally did the work, and they're still going through the procurement process to secure another contractor. So we made sure that at least they tidied up the site as much as they could, right? And right now we're going through that phase of, kind of waiting for the procurement process to go through the county. So that's something that I know that folks ask us all the time, and we've been in constant communication with both Miami-Dade County Public Works Department and our local county commissioner, Commissioner Cohen Higgins as well. That's always been a top of her priority list. The Palmetto Bridge on 87th Avenue on the other side of town in Palmetto Bay, that project's still going. I know we still get calls. It's not in our town, but we get a lot of calls about that. And that project is moving forward with Miami-Dade County Public Works Department. That's something that the Miami-Dade County Public Works Department is overseeing. So we continue to monitor that progress. So at this point, I'm just getting a nice little break. If there's any questions from the folks that are here in the audience, and I know we have some folks online. If I get the signal from our folks, so we'll take the folks online first. No questions? So either nobody's watching or I'm doing a good job, right? Okay, good. All right. And if there's any questions from members of the audience, at least from this part here, because we're going to keep going. No, don't be shy. Just come up to the podium right here. Okay, great. All right. So let's go on to the next part. Legacy Park and Municipal Complex. As you all know, the town, we approved a 16-acre site right next to the new Publix. I always tell people, if you go by there's the property with the big black fence tarp on there. Why? Because it has arsenic. in the soil. And that's something we're going to talk about here as well. I didn't want to become an arsenic expert, right, or a brownfield expert, but the more you learn about this is that these properties were farmed back in the 1920s. I mean, we go back all the way back to 1920s, the early aerials. And so a lot of that was just a lot of fertilizer farming equipment that was used there and a lot of different chemicals. So we knew that when we purchased the property, there's going to be some arsenic there. So one of the things that we did, we developed a master plan with a lot of public involvements that we had. I mean, you know, thank you for the University of Miami that did a lot of the work for us if you followed us during that, you know, as well as a lot of public involvement meetings. And again, some of these you'll see here, some of the photos are at some of our special events. If you recall, when we were going through that process with the University of Miami students, we had a little tent there for folks to, hey, come on by, you know, versus, you know what, come on a Monday night at town hall. We want to make sure we go out to the folks there at some of our 17 signature events. So we had a lot of great feedback. Thank you for all those folks that did that, because that actually saved us a lot of time and money, because we were able to get some of that feedback early on. Instead of paying a consultant to do that, we got that from the community itself. So it's comprised of 16 acres. 4 acres of it's going to be for what we call the programmatic buildings, meaning town hall, police department, as well as community center, a pool, and a pool house as well. And we're going to talk about that later. So it's really 4 acres are going to be a lot of the buildings, and then 12 acres will be open space. So one of the things that the council did, we were going back and forth, looking at some of the different options. And during our council meeting on February the 26th, yeah, see, I'm in between screens here. I got one screen here, small one and a big one there. So February 26th, we made the decision to look at all the different options that we could afford there. So one of the things that we did, and we're going to go through each one, is that we had obviously building A, which is the pool community center there with the pool house, you know, at an approximate cost of $14 million. So that we agreed upon. That's the location. That's where it's going to be. Building B is town hall. At one point, it was going to be 2 stories, but we went ahead and decided we're going to make it a 3-story building. Town hall with the police department, all 3 stories there in one location. Then we have a parking lot on item D, which is the parking lot. At one point, if you saw us originally, we were looking at a parking garage. Well, folks, that was like close to $7 million. So we started scaling back the original cost. Then we have the park complex, which is going to be comprised of a lot of different, you know, little Vita course. You have a stage there. One element you're not going to see there, as you saw from the original one, was a nice little lake feature. Remember that word I said, arsenic? Part of the reasons why that lake feature is not there anymore, because now we have arsenic levels there that are also in the water as well. So that prohibits us from using any type of groundwater there, because the arsenic is in the water as well. So we're going to have to put in some monitoring wells there, some of the remediation part that we're doing. And the rest of the items there, you'll see a lot of infrastructure stuff. So what we decided there collectively through our engineers and architects and our owner's rep is that we're going to build a $49.9 million complex. Okay, so it's $49.9 million. One of the things that we do know, even before we even get to that point, we have to spend about $12.8 million to remediate the soil. For that remediation of soil, we're using some $6.5 million of our ARPA funds, our grant funds that we received from American Rescue Plan Act. And then the remaining $6.3 million of it, we're going to use from our savings account that we have over $26 million. So that's going to take care of just the soil before we even build anything. That is going down 2.5 feet, removing 2.5 feet worth of dirt in 16 acres, and then bringing back enough fill to bring it up to a 7-foot elevation throughout the entire park, even though the buildings are going to be elevated a lot more because it's considered a municipal complex and also a command center. But the $49.9 million, we know that we've given marching orders to our design team. This is your budget. This is what you have. Go back and start designing, and we're doing one by one by one. If you follow us in our council meetings, we have Emma Jones from Stantec provides an update every month of where we in the process. So some of the funding opportunities that we have is, you know, we approved a $37 million budget. We used $4 million for the design and the blueprints that are still currently in the process. So we have $33 million there. But then we know that when we draw down the bond, we get an extra $2 million from what we call the bond proceeds. So this is the real cash we're going to have, 33 plus the 2 million. Then we also have what we know what's coming from developer impact fees that we have coming up in the next 3 years. We have about $3.6 million there. Then we also have what's called the Florida's Communities Trust. When we purchased, and you'll see it later on in the presentation, when we purchased the 8.5 acres on Old Cutler Road and 184, we were able to secure a grant for $1.5 million. Now, when those types of grants are issued by the state of Florida, they'll say, okay, we're going to fund up to the first $20 million. So our application was kind of like almost split in half, meaning that the state of Florida said, you're going to be awarded $865,000. You're still eligible for the remaining balance of the 1.5 if an application ahead of you doesn't close on a property. So we know that we still have an available balance left of 1.5, but the number I put there was 865,000. And then we recently purchased a property on 87th and Old Cutler Road. And there we were successful enough because our application was strong enough to be above, I call the red line. And there we're going to be getting the full $1.5 million from the state of Florida. So the 1.5 plus the 865,000 is that total there. Now, we also have what's called brownfield tax cleanup credits. The 16-acre site that we have there on Town Hall is a designated brownfield. What's that mean? That means the property has been contaminated. So the state of Florida, through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP, another acronym, provides voluntary tax cleanup credits. So if the town spends up to $1 million per year, which we have not yet because we're getting ready to start cleaning it up now, right? But we've had some testing and environmental legal fees that we've had to, go through. I'll give you just a good example. If, say, I think it was a couple years ago, we spent up to $300,000, easy round number. The state of Florida will say, we submit all this information to the state of Florida, say, yes, you're approved from reimbursement. Automatically 50% of that, they're going to what's called issue voluntary cleanup tax credits, VCTCs, another acronym in government. What happens there is that we then sell those voluntary tax cleanup credits to, and we have an agreement with Publix right next door, and they purchase those tax credits at 90 cents on a dollar. So we get 500,000, they purchase up to 90 cents on a dollar. The remaining $150,000 is still there until the entire property is cleaned up. So we know we're going to get that money eventually. So that's what that $526,000 is. That's what we spent so far on that property. Now, we also have environmentally endangered land, EEL. The property we mentioned about the 8.5 acres on Old Cutler and 184. We purchased that property immediately. It was actually a grassroots effort that was led. We got onto what's called the Miami-Dade County EEL, Environmental Endangered Land, and it's called a B list, B as in boy. There's two types of lists, A as in apple, B as in boy. A, my running joke is that the property has been like that since the Tequesta Indians were here, meaning it has never been disturbed. B means that the property has been disturbed, in this case, farmed, because we have the arrows from 1920, that it was farmed, but it does have some type of environmental value. So we automatically got on the B list. What's that mean for the town? It means that when Miami-Dade County EEL wants to buy that property, they're going to give you 50% of that value. 50%. Miami-Dade County EEL has valued that property at $910,000. So per acre, they're trying to acquire 2 acres. So they're going to give us only 910. It's the price of 1 acre. The remaining $910,000, we're actually working with Commissioner Cohen-Higgins to see if we could use another pot of money from Miami-Dade County we're going to talk about in a little bit. So that's something, again, these are projections for the next 3 years. Town Hall is going to take about 3 years to build. So we're projecting already that we're in the final negotiations for the county to give us $910,000 through the Miami-Dade County EEL property and through Commissioner Cohen-Higgins' office through a different funding source to match that $910,000. So I, as your town manager, come before the town council, say, okay, here's the deal. The county wants to purchase 2.1 acres, but not $910,000, but $1.8 million. Should we sell or not sell? That I want to bring that deal to the council beforehand. So that's something that we're working on here in the next 3 years, but actually, hopefully it'll be in the next year. So there you have approximately 43 million. Remember that 49.9 million we just talked about? Getting close now, right? These are our numbers there. Now, we also talked about it at the workshop, which we're going to have the link here in a second, about if we still need that funding gap, we could also go out to what's called a traditional loan. We call it in government a bond, not a general obligation bond, but it's a loan. So we could always go through the traditional route of getting a loan, and we could also get a loan through what's called the FDEP, State Revolving Fund, for a lot of the infrastructure, water, sewer, and stormwater connections at that site, which is approximately like $2.5 million. So I provided that information to the council. I'm giving you all the clip notes, but we do have the council meeting. It was very informative. It was a lot of questions from the mayor and town council regarding this. We had our financial advisor on the call as well, our finance director on the call. But there's the link on the screen there. It was on February the 26th. Folks, that was like a 2-hour meeting. I gave you the clip notes. I gave you like the final slide. So that way I know that I might get questions. Well, we approved the $49 million. Yeah, but we're getting close to there. We're getting close there. So any questions at this point with the Legacy Park? Online? Question? Come on up so they can hear you at home too. Sorry. Don't be shy. I can hear you, but the folks at home can't.
This arsenic business. When they built this, did they find arsenic? Did they test for it?
Okay, great question. In case the folks at home didn't hear, this arsenic, so the answer, believe it or not, trivia question, yes. The Applebee's, that Applebee's strip in front there, that's actually a brownfield because they found arsenic.
And when they're going to do all the redevelopment,
Right.
Are they going to test again?
Yes, so.
Going to do it in little pieces?
No, so let's talk about the property that the town bought, right? And then versus, say, a developer.
That's what, no, but I'm also thinking, I've lived in a house for 55 years. And when we first moved into it, most of the area was the boondocks, or my friends used to call it. I don't recall anybody ever talking about testing the soil for where your house was. I mean, this is just really a frightening thing to think about. I haven't anymore, but I used to have a garden, a vegetable garden.
Well,
Okay, all right, that's it. Getting back to this is very nice, but this is not up to date. I mean, telling us that most of the things on here are all different. Starting from the building for the parking. So do we not need the amount of parking that we would have in a building as opposed to just a field parking? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm coming lately to this because I've been in touch with a lot of things because of an accident. Anyway, if you can, I guess if we have and I don't see too many other people. Oh my, no, we do have people now. I came early.
It's okay.
I'm just concerned about arsenic, period.
Okay, let me borrow that flyer for you. Okay. So the flyer you're referencing, the one in the back table, that should not be there.
Okay. That's
Number one. I got 3 staff members here. Guys, remove.
When will we have?
Okay, there we go. So let's do this because this shows you the old picture. Again, we just had this council meeting in February. Okay, so this is the picture we showed originally.
Yeah.
Right, the picture we showed originally with the lake that we talked about.
Right.
Okay, this plan, if you follow us, was a $76 million plan. Okay, so we said, oh no, we don't have $76 million. That's all nice. And we started scaling down, and scaling down. Okay, the water feature that you see here, the nice little lazy river and the lake here. I mean, I'm showing it. This is my paper. We developed it, right? That you can't do anyway because there's arsenic in the water. So let's go back to the arsenic. So one, this should not be there in the front table.
Okay.
So we're gonna get that. In fact, somebody go get them now.
So
So that's number one.
this day and age, when somebody buys a
Okay.
piece of property, do they not do tests before they come to?
So the way that works with the arsenic, and I want to make sure I get to the question. So the way that works now, the arsenic, back in the days when you bought your house, there was nothing around. Regulations
Oh,
didn't exist.
tomato fields,
Yeah, I'm sure.
strawberry fields.
Strawberry fields, right? I see orange groves. I see the pictures because that's part of the areas that we see.
They use arsenic
Okay.
and the food, and then
I mean, listen, back then, nobody tested for air quality as well. So the rules changed for that. So I could tell you that when government buys a piece of property, we check for the arsenic levels, right? So we check for the arsenic levels. Now, government has a different standard than if I was a developer because now it's being used for a park, right? So it's being used for a park. So the different arsenic levels for a park than it is for a public shopping center, for example. Right? That's the rules that.
this place.
Oh, well, no, like say the public shopping center, right? So what happens is arsenic, it depends who you talk to, right? But I can tell you that the arsenic levels are set by Miami County Durham, number one. If you talk to the farmers are going to tell you that is a natural derivative at the soil. If you talk to environmentalists, they're going to tell you that it is based on the type of fertilizer that was used back in the day. Whatever it is, it's above the levels. Whatever it is, I'm dealing with it.
Okay.
So what I tell people all the time, you want to be safe, do not eat the soil. Let's say that again. Do not eat your soil.
But when you plant,
We're getting ready to spend $12.8 million because somebody says we're going to eat the soil.
when you plant vegetables, they have roots and everything. I've got a couple of trees that produce mulberries,
Right.
you know?
I can tell you when we received the calls from our neighbors that live next to Blue Heron Park, it says, "And your property is safe?" I go, "Yes, as long as you don't eat the soil." I mean, I don't know how simple to say it because I mean, it's different levels for parks. We thought the property was safe too until we started sampling and like, whoa, wait a minute, arsenic. So that's what we're doing. It's a natural derivative, but I can tell you that we're doing the right thing for that. There's two different ways to deal with that: is scrape it all the way down and haul it away, or you could put what's called a cap on it and put a liner on it. We chose to do haul all away because if you put a liner in it, think about this. Let me use your tree example, right? You plant a tree, right? What happens to a tree in years? The roots go like this. What happens when that root breaks that barrier? Now you're back to square one again.
Nothing.
You see, so we're digging all the way down to the water table. So that's why it's costing 12. Believe me, you know, I had to sit there and tell the council the great news that we had to spend $12.8 million on a piece of property. So I feel you. I understand that.
Oh, I just, you know, I haven't heard about this.
No, it's a thing. It's a thing, and the rules have changed in recent years. In fact, just in my conversation with Miami County Durham, their developers may not have been able to develop a lot of the sites without more soil remediation, right? Removing soil, fancy word, right? Because now there's new standards, just like any other standard there is now. So now that we're at that level now, and we're dealing with it now.
Okay, all right.
Remember, don't eat the soil. I know.
Don't
Believe me.
play in the sandbox.
Yes, just don't eat the sand. All right, come on up. Come on up. Come on up so they can hear you.
Ricardo Gomes from 8501 Caribe.
You know,
I am very happy for the process. So we're being very open, elated for all the information that you transferred to us, to the community. But I want to clarify for myself, and I think the community needs to understand a little bit better the point of view of the arsenic. Natural, in my opinion, natural arsenic is 1 to 40 milligrams per kilo. It happens naturally, but when they exceed that, it becomes dangerous for human bodies. Now, my question to you is, because I could not understand, I was in previous meetings for the update on soil, and one of the first meetings was when there was the approach of the property. It was a felony analysis of the soil. Even the vice mayor put the questions if you should open investigation or lawsuit against that situation. They did the analysis. This is on record, so I can be confused, but I don't think we all will know that it was arsenic there because of the publics, but we never expect to be on these levels. So when the approach was done on this property, these levels, it was not expected. And we have an extra costs. That's the confusion that you transfer, in my opinion, because probably I didn't understood correctly. But I think the community needs to understand this. It is an issue in here, a legal issue, that when it was the approach of the property, it was something that it fell on the analysis of that land. The second thing is, on the 40s, on the 50s, when this land was developed, before being developed, yes, the government authorized the soil and the development of the potato fields to use arsenic in some of the products for development. Right now, it's not on a level, but it was used. And we knew that. The question is, why nobody did the investigation correctly with this? This is going to cost us as money, and we know that. I'm all for it. We're going to support your project, no matter what. We have a hot potato right now on your hands, and we need to take it off. The community will support you. He's no doubts, but we need to understand clearly what is these small issues for us to move forward and have no doubts over the community, because everybody talks, but we need to have something to be very clear.
Perfect. And what a great commercial. Why I want people to listen to what we're saying at these type of meetings. So thank you for that. I'm gonna go back and reference hot potato. A lot of the folks that here, they remember that as a potato field. Remember that? Okay, so he must have been reading my mind because I said this is a rotten potato. Forget about hot potato, right? So a couple of things. Let's start getting rid of some of the rumors, right? That's what I love about this type of meeting. One, when we purchased the property, right? We know that we did what's called a phase 1 and a phase 2. A phase 1, just do a research on the property. What was the property used back in the day? A lot of old aerials. Okay, boop, agriculture. Instantly go to phase 2. Phase 2, think about 16 acres and think about a bunch of little holes, right? So when you do a phase 2, again, don't quote me, I'm not the expert, but we have that on file. You have to do so many different type of borings. Okay, so we found some arsenic. Okay, so what's the alternative? Not purchase the property and have over 468 units there? So we knew that was part of the samples that we knew was arsenic. Why? Remember potato field? Remember farming? Remember 468 units. So what do? Walk away from the deal? No, we didn't. We said, you know what? We're going to stay committed. So follow the tracks, public record. Now we come up and I tell the council, let's designate this a brownfield. Why a brownfield? Folks, about 4 years ago, you told me what a brownfield is. I know how to spell it. That's about it. What's a brownfield? It's a property that is perceived to be contaminated that will open up for federal and state funding. So you do your phase 1, says agriculture use, okay? You do a phase 2, bunch of little holes. Oh, it has arsenic. Okay. None of those wells said that we had arsenic in the water. Okay, fine. We're dealing with the arsenic. Even if it did, what do? Not buy it? We made the decision to go ahead and buy it. Why? Because we took away over 468 units on Old Cutler Road. That we all admit it's just there's never no speeding on Old Cutler Road. I never get speeding on Old Cutler Road, right? It's always full. So we designated a brownfield. Instantly, when you designate a brownfield, now you put more holes. And I said this before the public hearing, so wow, I paid a consultant to go find stuff. Right, so now you make so many different more holes. In those holes, we saw that there's actually arsenic in the water level. We knew it was in the soil. We didn't know how bad it was in terms of it actually was in the water. So the investigation, our own investigation, to be qualified as a brownfield, we did our own drilling with our consultant. In fact, there was, and Rod, you might have to help me here. We had our environmental consultant actually did almost like an hour and a half presentation regarding the entire history of the property. Look up that date and so I could throw it out there as well for the public. But that there, I want to make sure that we put that on video, because I think if you want to actually find out the whole history of Michael Goldstein, our environmental consultant, part of the EPA grant that we're applying for, right, for $4.9 million, part of that requirement was to provide the general public a meeting, which we actually had in here, but unfortunately 3 folks showed up, right? But I want to make sure that you have that video link, because that was a very comprehensive historical data that you could and story that you could provide about we call that the potato field, and what the criteria is and why we got to this point. So Rod, do you have a date?
Yeah, November 12, 2024.
Okay, so November 12, 2024, we'll see if we could put that link when we post this video here. There was a detailed report there. So going back to the gentleman's question, you're absolutely right. Hot potato, I call it rotten potato. We know that what we were up against, because we know that the public's right next door. If you recall, when it was being developed, they had to go down so many feet as well. So we knew buying that property is like, what's the difference between that side of the road and our side of the property? So we knew that was there. The only issue is, since we are a governmental agency, the levels of actually it's 5.5. Councilmember Lord remembers when our trip to Tallahassee with the mayor and other council members, if it exceeds the level 5.5, and again, don't quote me, I don't know if it's parts per million or what have you, but I know the number 5.5, that exceeds a high level for a public use. Going back to the young lady's question regarding, hey, but what about other properties? I'm sure it's there, but at least for public standpoint, it's there. Public, not publics, right? Public standpoint, it's there. So we do know what's going on there. Luckily, we could use some of the ARPA money that we have here, $6.5 million. Unfortunately, yes, we have to use $6.3 million of our own funds to clean it up. But, and you'll see later on in the presentation, we're actually aggressively looking at some of the different funding sources as well for that. So yes, that investigation was done. In fact, we'll talk about it later when we talk about Cutler and 87th Avenue. If you recall, the mayor went on video saying, hey, it's going to be 110 units with a potential CVS there, if you recall that. Well, folks, there's an environmental issue there too. What used to be on that property on the tip of the corner? A nursery. What used to be in the center of the property? Pumpkin patch, fireworks, and Christmas trees. So there's environmental stuff there we got to clean up too. So we knew going in there. And in fact, if you want to do one more, the 8.5 acres that we purchased right off of Cutler, on the southern side of it used to be in 1920s or 30s, was an old farmhouse. That right around that farmhouse, when we did our phase 2 environmental, those wells came up hot. That I still got to remove dirt there too. Besides, 99% of the trees are all invasive. So yes, all 3 pieces of property, the running joke with my staff is all 3 that we bought are contaminated. But what are the options? Not buying them? So we bought them, and we're doing, the biggest one obviously is the 16 acres. Okay, so we go back. Any other questions or no? Okay.
No questions.
Okay. PowerPoint. But thank you for some great questions there, Okay, Southplace City Center, we call the mall redevelopment. As you know, we've been very vocal about that. We had a milestone that we just passed. It's a $1.5 billion impact, and they're also going to have to do the environmental reports there as well. So we just had a groundbreaking this past, a couple months ago in February. You can see there was we call it the phase 1 of the mall redevelopment site. There's going to be over 1,100 units that have been approved on phase 1. You can see the master plan there. You can see the little blue boxes there. If you're watching us at home and here in the audience, the blue boxes would have been already approved administratively. So you can see there's going to be 1,100 units. There's going to be a 60,000 square footage of commercial, and also, a parking garage there as well. So those are the type of things that you see from my previous chart that talked about impact fees that are going to be paid. The small developers are going to be paying impact fees. Are going to help us fund that gap for Legacy Park. These are actually some of the renderings of what's going to look like. It's going to be a 120-room key hotel. I keep saying, what's a key? It's rooms, right? A hotel. There's going to be a lot of retail and restaurants. Those are actual renderings there. And there's going to be a nice little courtyard mix there as well. Open space. This is the actual layout of the mall there, just to give you some ideas there of what it's going to, the scale and the masting of it. Something that I've been very vocal about and thanking Commissioner Cohen-Higgins for is the pedestrian bridge, because there's going to be at the end almost over 5,500 units. The pedestrian bridge is going to be near the area of 112th and US 1. That pedestrian bridge that you see, that location is not the exact location. The reason why I put that graphic there, folks, this is a perfect example. Man, it looks great on a map. Perfect, man, straight shot right across from the parking lot right to that little property on the busway there that's owned by Miami-Dade County. Perfect. Except next door, there's huge power lines that's going to cost somewhere north of $20 million to bury. So at that point, we started working with Commissioner Cohen-Higgins and our friends from Miami-Dade County Public Works to do what's called the PD&E study for the pedestrian bridge, to see if we could kind of shift it over a little bit away from the power lines. And that's something that the study is being done as we speak right now. So some of the other upcoming developments that we have approved. So you can see that we're kind of busy there. We have right behind the Tire Kingdom there, you'll see there's going to be a multi-family apartment complex there, right behind the Tire Kingdom. We talked about the Southland Mall. I'm going to take you up north on US 1 there. Right next to El Dorado, the council approved over 700 units there it's a 10-acre parcel. It's 70 units per acre. And I know I got some questions from the audience saying it's ridiculous. I'm going to give you an update there how even better news that gets there. And then also we have 95 units right behind the Shell station there. For senior housing that we approved. Then we talk about our Legacy Park there. And then also inside the Lakes by the Bay community, we have what I call the adult Hilton. As a nice phrase there. It's going to be 55 and over units there for, it's about 176 units there in that 16-acre parcel there. And that's that zone with an underlying covenant that has to be over 55. And then most recently on the corner of 216 Old Cutler Road is the property that the developer's called Dragonfly, but it's going to be a restaurant, a coffee shop right at the end there by Lincoln City Park there on the corner of 216 Old Cutler Road. There is a current empty lot there. So let's go back to the ridiculous comment I heard somebody yell out in the audience regarding the 700 units that are right next to El Dorado. Folks, let's talk about developers right. That property is 10 acres. I'm going to do some quick math here. It's 10 acres. The developer has the rights to build up to 70 units per acre. 10 times 70, 700 units. All right. So the council approved it. And I could tell you that I just spoke to the developer literally today, and they're on the fence if they're even going to do that or not. Okay, but it's zoned for that. It's exactly that is exactly transit-oriented development, TOD, another bureaucratic acronym, but it's right next to the busway, and that's what the intention is there. It's 10 acres there. So we'll see if that actually comes through or not. I mean, just because we approved it, we'll see if it gets developed or not. So that's part of the ridiculousness of approval process that we have. So hope I answered that question. So any questions about these projects? Come on up, Kevin.
It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I understand developers have rights, you could do it, but remember back when the town, well, if you were here or not, I remember exactly at Eastridge, they had a meeting, and this was all zoned just regular stuff, and you upzoned everything. Then you go and you buy it back for all this millions of dollars. I mean, there's something not right about that. Someone made some money somewhere. I don't care what anybody says. And then how are we gonna drive around here? We're gonna take the bus? Nobody takes a bus. It's ridiculous. The traffic, having the crossing gates, the signalization on US 1, I have to take all the back roads now because I can't navigate there. It takes forever. I mean, there's some you wait to go across and you lost your turn. It only cycles on one side, then it has cycles for pedestrians. There is no pedestrian. And you wait and the traffic's backed up. Now you're gonna double all this. It's gonna be even worse. What is in the police department, there is none. I don't ever see a police officer anymore, not just in Cutler Bay, I'll be honest, everywhere. I did see 2 Cutler Bay police officers in Pinewood Acres, directing traffic. I went to kindergarten there. It's near 97th and Kendall. And one guy, big fat guy with a hat, said sheriff. I mean, what's going on here?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for the questions. It makes my job a little bit easier when there's more audience participation. So let's talk about the upzoning. All right. Accusation of somebody make money. Let's talk about upzoning. Who recommended the upzoning? You did.
Not me.
Not you, the residents did. Let's go back in history, right? Because yes, I'm that old guy. I've been here since 2006, right? Before we incorporated the Treasure Coast Planning Association, which is on our website, right, Rod? Yeah, I think so, right? We did what's called the Old Cutler Road Charrette. Okay, where did the concept from the 2 traffic circles come from? Where did the concept of mixed use and having, brick pavers and crosswalks and bus shelters? That came from the charrette. In that charrette, it said, you know what, we're going to define the commercial district of 87th to 97th Avenue. And in between there, it's already been zoned NC1. And that zoning was for mixed use, kind of like the city place. Like, when the folks went, elected officials back then went on a tour, to city place to see how a mixed use would work. So I go back to someone, I said, you, the residents did, not you, Kevin, but I mean, I'm sure, but you were involved, but I see some of the old pictures. So that's how the Old Cutler Road charrette was born, number 1. Number 2, a second charrette, and a charrette's a fancy word for a planning session, right? Just makes me sound more intelligent when I say it, right? A planning session. The second charrette area was called the Cutler Ridge charrette. Remember the south of the mall we talked about? How was that born? There, the wedding cake concept, 50 units per acre, 70 units per acre, 150 units per acre, 250 units per acre. I call it the wedding cake effect, okay? That also was born from another charrette that was citizen driven. Both of those charrettes are posted on our website. So that's how that zoning was in place. In regards to the east-west traffic that you mentioned, Kevin, regarding the bus rapid transit, yeah, guys, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem because you have the east-west traffic. But at the same time, we have to have that again, $300 million investment, as I call it, right? $300 million, $100 million from the federal government, $100 million from the state, $100 million from the county. It's a $300 million bus rapid transit. And yes, there will be issues with that east-west traffic. We see that already, so that's how that bus that supposed to operate like a train supposed to run. And folks, let's talk about the rest of the story, because I like saying the rest of the story. If you follow us through the council meeting, we're the only city that still held our position saying, we want rail or bust, number 1. We did not change our opinion, our stance for the bus rapid transit. Till this day, I made a lot of enemies in the county with that. And we still kept our position there. Why? Because remember what I was telling you about south of the mall, the 5,000 units that are coming there? That's zoned for that. That's why we said the Metro Rail extension to Cutler Bay makes sense, because we have the density. We have the density for that, okay? Now, the rest of the story is that, is just trying to get that funding. But to this day, we're here, we have this, all the studies show that it makes sense up to Cutler Bay. From Cutler Bay South, that's different. I'm trying to remember what other topics you had, Kevin, but if not, then sorry. I think I hit some of those. Huh? No, but you know how to find me. I think the police presence, I mean, that's always going to be the case. I think, listen, I mean, I get both sides as a manager. That's what I love about my job. And I really love my job where I'll have folks say there's too much police presence when they go do traffic enforcement on Tiffany and they get a bunch of traffic enforcement there. So it all depends, right? It all depends the traffic with the traffic and the police, you know? So sure, one more question, come on up. Make sure while he's coming up, any questions from online?
No question.
No question online. Okay, great. We're doing good. Yes, sir.
My question is any studying regards this new development for the business center and the commercial areas on close to US one? Is any studying regards to control the commute? Try to explain is if is any studying in the community to try to keep the residents inside of the community and try to give an opportunity to residents not to drive so much outside of the town.
Okay.
Is it this study exists?
Hmm.
Or if it exists also any agreement with the developers to create space for this type of community that lives in Cutler Bay for not to leave the town and the short is community.
Okay, great question. I think I want to summarize the question. Is there any type of report that show how to control some of that traffic and have people stay in Cutler Bay, right? So one, we do have what's called a transportation master plan that was done. That was actually funded through a grant through the TPO, and it was done by the Cordino Group. And in there, I see the graphic in my head where it shows the map of Cutler Bay and a big green arrow saying 80% of people go north to work. I don't even know what the other 20% do. Maybe they're retired, or maybe go south. Guys, you could just sit there on the roof of the building, or you just get on the turnpike. Where's everybody going? Get in my car. Get in my car, drive to Doral, drive to Fontainebleau, drive to Brickell to do the exact same thing I could be doing in my house, right? Sit down and do it. There's no mill plant here, guys. There's no mill plant. There's no factory here, right? So our own traffic study, and I challenge the rest of the traffic studies for other cities, unless you're Miami that you stay there, or Doral that they stay there, is a commercial district. If you follow the council, and the mayor's been very vocal, is creating jobs, creating jobs, creating jobs here. I could tell you that as part of the development of Southland Mall, there's going to be commercial districts there. There's going to be a 60,000 square foot medical arts building there. Items that along Old Cutler Road, there's opportunity there to have some type of jobs there. But again, what type of jobs? Folks get in the car to go somewhere to go sit and work on the computer. So what we're trying to do is make sure how do you create, and that's always been the case for the last, 20 years of our existence, you know, of existence. We don't have an industrial zoning in Cutler Bay, because I know we've gotten calls from Amazon. I've gotten calls from, believe it or not, a fish farm. We don't have that type of zoning in Cutler Bay for industrial, right? We have it around Cutler Bay. So yes, there has been studies on top of studies on top of studies. That's the running joke. How many more studies do we need till developers start coming down and bringing the jobs down? You know how that happens? The pinch point. The pinch point, I use the example of the law firm that just moved up to, well, I just moved, it's been here like 4 years already, right? That moved here because it said the rents of Coral Gables too expensive. The Doral rents are too expensive. And then that fact that they think the owner of the law firm told me that they actually has to pay to park in their own parking garage in the building that they lease in the Gables. I love hearing all that great news. Why? I keep telling people, come on down, come on down. Hey, when we own the building, come lease our building here. Look, you could park as many people you like there, as long as everybody fits there, right? So I think that natural move back south is going to start occurring. Build it, and they will come, folks. As I recall. So, all right, come so you can hear.
Built for you to stay.
Absolutely, build so you can stay. So absolutely right. So it's just absolutely. So it's convincing folks to build.
You don't want to see the commute. You want to stop the traffic. We know that South, the Homestead, Orange, or Naranja, what I call them, they are building crazy. And the traffic goes through us, goes through Palmetto Bay. We have an animosity with Palmetto Bay because of the bridge, because they funnel all the traffic there. But now we have the funnel here. On 87, we have the three schools. We support the schools, but you have three schedules. And these three schedules, you struggle with traffic on 87. As an example, if we go to US 1, we can make from the 216 until 182nd in less than half an hour. The traffic is impossible to track. So the concept that I'm trying to transfer to the board and to you is any way that we can really build to keep our residents inside.
Yeah, and I think that you by doing that, you'll see creating the buzz when you have a $1.5 billion investment there. Somebody took that plunge, right? Because my reverse question would be, absolutely, tell me when somebody wants to build me an office tower here. I haven't seen nobody knock on the door yet, but I could tell you something's coming, right? We got Southland Mall coming in, they're going to do a 60,000 square foot medical arts building. The fact that this building here, right, is about 95% full, that's telling the market something. Okay, so the fact that you see other office locations in the South Day community getting full or less vacancy, that's telling you something. Now you start seeing the reverse. Now you start seeing the reverse. So you're absolutely right. I think it's getting that type of firms. If you follow the mayor, what the mayor's been saying throughout the last several years of his concept of having a regional courthouse. Okay, you said it. You come to our meetings, you see him here. He talks about it. Talks about council meetings, chamber meetings, and anytime we go, I'll talk to the elected officials. Reversing the trend, like I'll give you a simple thing. Everybody hates that dreaded letter. You have been selected for jury duty. You're like, oh God, I got to go downtown. Why? You should come to a regional courthouse. That's something that the mayor's been harping on. We've been talking to the new clerk of the courts, chief judges as well. How do you start reversing that traffic? Okay. So my challenge is this: you get in the car to do what at what industry? How do you bring that industry down south? Right? Because the housing's here. How do you get the industry down south? It's happening, folks, because the fact that you see the leases in the Doral area, the Brickell area, downtown Miami area, bring them down. We hear that. I hear that all the time with restaurants, all the time. So that's something that's how you start reversing that, because now it's happening now versus we're thinking about it. It's happening now because you see it evident here in this building. But great question in terms of reverse traffic. You're absolutely right. Reverse that traffic over. Okay. Thanks. No question. Okay. Let's go in the PowerPoint. But great interaction here, folks. I love it. Okay. The capital improvement projects. Again, this is where we're investing money back into our municipality. So we call that roadway complete streets projects. Again, I think something important here, we talk about the funding sources. You hear me say all the time, JPA, another acronym. It's actually called Miami-Dade County Joint Participation Agreement. Money that we get from the county to work on roads. You'll see what we talk about in a second. FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation. LAP, Local Agency Project. Those are grants. Do we have the town's PTP money, People's Transportation Plan, that little half-penny gas tax that you use? We get approximately $2 million per year based on our population. 80% for roadway projects, 20% for transportation, transit for the trolley. And then we also have a town stormwater utility service that you see now. Now you see it on your tax bill there as well. So some of the roadway projects that we're working on, we have Marlin Road. We received a grant for over $900,000 to do what's called a master plan there. It's going to be similar to what you see that we've done on Caribbean Boulevard, similar to what we've done on Cutler Road, similar to what you see happening right now on Franjo Road. Bus pull-out bays, turning lanes, lighting, drainage, landscaping. Obviously, we're living right now the Franjo Road project. So we just did a quick milestone. We opened up the property, the site right in front of Holy Rosary. Now we're working our way south there. And again, this is something that every month at our council meeting, third Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m., commercial plug, we have our engineers provide an update on the public information and the progress of that project. Then we just completed here at the end of the footbridge, 103rd, right there on the other side of the canal. We just finished that traffic circle there. We're working on the canal project there with South Florida Water Management District, something you don't see, but the canal's collapsing, and we received a grant for that. And we also talked about the Caribbean Boulevard, we call it the J Street there, that we have a grant from FDOT to finish the rest of the roadway project there on Caribbean Boulevard. We just finished up 82nd Avenue under budget within time. There that you have the traffic circle and you have all of the roadway projects there. And again, thank you for the neighbors there of Old Cutler Glen, because it showed a lot of patience there. I mean, we have to live through these projects, and the detours there. We talked about the property that we own on Old Cutler and 184th Street there that we're working on there, that we're actually in the process of getting the permit from Miami-Dade County to remove the invasives. And we just approved the master plan there as well, that we're going to talk about shortly. And then also we have the 53 acres that's owned by South Florida Water Management District that we received a grant for, that we're going to go through and change the elevation for a lot of the different birdings there. And if you know that area there, 232, between 232, 224 and 97th Avenue, there's a lot of illegal dumping as well that goes on there. And some folks like going into the wetlands doing donuts where the birds are nesting. So we're going to have we're going to put in guardrails there, et cetera, to protect that. And now Franjo Road improvements. As I mentioned, Franjo Road, that's a joint participation agreement that we received from the county, a grant for over $8.5 million. And you'll see the rest of the funding sources there. That project's currently underway right now. We're in the second phase now. So again, thank you for the residents and a lot of patience for the different detours. I mean, that's a large detour because we have to, close that road down to progress with that project because you're literally rebuilding the entire street. Oh, hold on, I'll get you. Let me finish mine. And then there's going to be a question break because I need a water break too. Okay, we just finished up the Franjo Road, but now this is the second phase of it right now that we have there, and you see some of the detours there. Okay, Kevin, come on up.
I think you're the man to answer this question. And this is not directed just at Cutler, but this is kind of all over. But since we're talking about Franjo and I have to go around all the time, how come they can build a 15-story apartment building in 3 months, have the sign out, people moving in, and you guys have been farting around on this thing for 6 months and only got 2 blocks done? Why does it take so long to do roads? The 3 traffic circles on Old Cutler Road, or 4, supposed to have been done 1.5 years ago, and they're still waiting for the lights up. They had a telephone pole sticking out by 136 for they just took it out. It's been sitting there. Cut the darn thing down. Why? What's the disconnect?
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, look, it's frustrating when you're living through that. I could tell you for Franjo Road, we have weekly meetings and we provide a monthly report to the council. We have a full-time communications person that's out there through the consultant. And I could tell you that when you hear me say complete streets, just think about this. It's a complete rebuild. I mean, it's going down. Whatever you see there is gone. Rebuilding it back up, drainage, lighting, and curbing. So it is a major project. I wish it was as quick as seeing a traffic circle, but I know that Franjo Road is a major arterial roadway there that we're working on. And the same thing is going to happen when we start working on Marlin Road. But the good thing about it is this: what's the alternative? Do nothing. So we're doing something about it. So I'd rather hear the complaints about detour versus when are you going to get to my street? It happens, and we go through it, and you know what? We'll celebrate together like we've celebrated with Old Cutler Road, an award-winning project, like Caribbean Boulevard, an award-winning project as well. And I challenge my staff as well for Franjo Road. In fact, we're already going through, and the mayor and council know, the chase for money for Marlin Road. Guys, it hasn't even been designed yet, and we're already chasing more funding for that. So we're always ahead of it, because if not, do nothing. So yes, ma'am. Come on up. Great audience participation, guys. Thank you. This time's flying by.
I live on a street that is called 99th Road. It is 1 block long, and it has a U of roads around it because they have canals. This is where they had a peculiar intersection on Franjo Road. And what is happening up there? You're going to have, I don't know what kind of signage to keep people knowing where they're going. And it was very simple before, and maybe people had to stand or line up to get out there. But this is, anyway, why did Florida Power and Light have to redo the poles when they were doing the streets adjacent to that? And then now the next thing we get is we're doing the sidewalks again. My sidewalks have not been bad, and they've been done twice since I lived there. I mean, it's just, do you understand, is there some place that I can get a map that's going to show me what that intersection is like?
Mhm.
Where?
I'm waiting for more of your questions. I'm memorizing this so I can respond back to you.
Okay, all right, and I'll stop because I don't want to take up
No,
everybody's.
not a problem at all.
Because I go there, I walk there every day to see what's going on. And truly,
Okay.
it's very seldom that you have what looks like, I mean, they have a lot of equipment and a lot of those sewer things that I could crawl through, but they're kind of moving down, and that helps out a little, does it?
Okay. Well, thank you for the questions. And in fact, I'm going to offer you even one better. The way we operate in Cutler Bay, right? What we're going to do is my assistant, Romy, right here, is going to give you my card or get your information, right? And I'm going to have my Public Works Director, Alfredo Quintero, right, go visit you, who's managing that project. So a couple of things you mentioned, you got FPL with poles. One, FPL is going through what's called the hardening project right now. That they're, I know, but I know, but at the same time, it happened to be, it's going on at the same time. So it's a hardening project that we've been lobbying with with FPL, because a lot of those poles are some old wood poles. And now they're going through what's called the hardening project there. Number one. Number two, on Franjo Road, we're going through those big pipes. You see, that's all drainage pipes that we have. And I'll have Alfredo Quintero, if you get her contact information, Romy, reach out to you, because I guarantee you, we don't replace sidewalks that they don't need to be replaced. Number one. So you're telling me that we replaced sidewalks 3 times that didn't need it? Wow, you must be the luckiest person, or my guys don't know what they're doing, because we don't do that. I mean, so that we have a list of exactly what sidewalks there, because believe me, there's a lot of areas there that we're still going through replacing sidewalks. So Romy's going to get your information, and then Alfredo Quintero, my Public Works Director, do one better. You don't have to look it up. He'll go visit you as well. So hopefully we get that going, and that's part of the service that we provide in Cutler Bay. Okay, next slide here. Okay, Caribbean Boulevard project that we talked about here. This is a project from 87th Avenue all the way to 184. We refer to that as the J. The folks who've been following us, you know that we've been going through this process through the design phase, as well as obtaining grants from FDOT, which we received. So that project is moving forward with the design aspect of it right now. And again, a complete streets. What's a complete street? The curbing, the lighting, the sidewalks. But in this particular case, there's going to be the curbing, the sidewalks. There's not going to be lighting there because it's not part of a special taxing district there. So that's something that, again, the plans are available here at Town Hall. Our Public Works Director will be more than happy to meet with folks regarding that. You heard me talk about before, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. It's easier to say that, right? ARPA, the federal grant. So based on our population, the town received $21 million after the COVID. $10 million was allocated for what's called general services, and $11 million were what we call water quality improvements, also known as stormwater projects. Okay, so what I've done in terms of full transparency, and the council has done as well, is that anytime we spend any dollars from there, we bring it before the town council, have it approved via the town council. More importantly, it also goes through legal review. As I mentioned, there's 3 charter officials, myself, the town clerk, and the town attorney. So there's your checks and balances. The town attorney will confirm that this expense is eligible before it gets before the town council. We call a resolution for it to be approved. So these are the items that we spent item by item. You'll see the resolution number there. That's the act of the council, the resolution number. The first two numbers is the year, and the second two numbers just the order of how many we've done that year. And then you see there the project, the vendor's name, the location, and the amount. So again, this is something that we provide in our finance transparency portal, as well as in our resolution, as well as our council meeting agenda items that are public meetings. So there you can see that what we have allocated $9.1 million. Water quality improvements at $21 million we spoke about. We had $11 million of it for drainage projects. So now we're going to go through the little neighborhood virtual tour, as we call it. So we have here this little area here, the little pocket area. Right, yeah, that's right off of Caribbean Boulevard there. You'll see there's going to be a drainage improvement project there. We also just completed 82nd Avenue project for drainage, and we also are in the process of working on around the Cutler Ridge Park, Cutler Ridge Elementary area. You see that area kind of, torn up there for drainage improvement projects, if you've seen some of our special events there. Then we also have the area right behind Franjo Park. That area there, if you drive by there now, it's been completed already. So you'll see that what you see at the end result, nice paved road, but what you don't see is like the young lady mentioned, the big pipes that are on the ground and what have you there. That's kind of part of the water quality improvement projects there. We also have one right across the street from the Encompass Health as well. We have one off of the Lakes by the Bay neighborhood there on the north and south side of 216th Street. And the names you see there are called the sub-basin names. Those aren't names, those are just the sub-basins names there that you see there. And then you have also a big project we have as well in Saga Bay community as well. And we just finished up the 82nd Avenue, and we're in the process of, Franjo Road. These are all the projects that we allocated those funds to. So again, as I mentioned, funding sources, you have the American Rescue Plan Act, you have FDOT grants, you have Miami-Dade County Joint Participation Agreement, which is a grant, JPA. Then you have the People's Transportation Plan, which is a half-penny gas tax that everybody pays and our allocation towards it. And you have the Stormwater Utility Fund. To note there, one of the things that we say all the time, nowhere there we have to have the millage rate or ad valorem taxes. These are all done by grants and or stormwater fees, which a lot of cities can't say, but we actually, been lucky enough that we've been able to do it that way. Any questions for the roadway projects that we have going on? And I know the detours, and thank you for the folks doing the detours. If you have any questions online?
No questions.
You sure? Are we broadcasting? Okay, I want to make sure. I just want to make sure, Okay, towns acquisitions. You got a lot of preview from this already, right? We have the 8.5 acres there, Coastal Ridge Preserve. It actually has a park name now. It's called Coastal Ridge Preserve. Okay, you'll see that there off of 184 and Old Cutler Road. In fact, a couple of weeks back, we just had another restoration project there. So thanks to the volunteers and volunteer leaders, I call them, Eduardo Verona and some of the permanent volunteers, and as well as the Coast Academies there as well. So we have a lot of good sweat equity there from some of the folks that have been doing that for years. And we have some, as I tell myself, some young blood that we have from both the Cutler Bay Middle and Cutler Bay High School as well. So 8.5 acres, Coastal Ridge Preserve. This is the master plan. This is the master plan that was approved by the town council. If you recall from the previous slide, we received over $250,000 grant from FDEP, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and we matched it with $250,000. It was a $500,000 project. We spent approximately about $100,000 of it with doing the master planning, all the public involvement meetings and the master plan there. And now we're going through the permitting stage for Miami-Dade County Durham. The reason why we have not received the permit yet, because just to the east of that property is the South Florida Water Management District. They own over 145 acres there. Miami-Dade County Durham wants us to go through what's called a wetland delineation line. Where do the wetlands start and where do the wetlands end? They want to make sure that those wetlands they kind of creep up to our property there. So that's where we're at right now with the Durham permit. But more importantly, one of the things we're really excited about, if you've been following us in the council meeting, is that we actually had our partners from Zoo Miami, Ron McGill and his staff, actually put what I call it, I call it the little green box sniffer, I call it the sniffer and one of the trees there, they actually installed it, and they actually picked up readings from 4 different types of bat species. I mean, that's really exciting there. you know. One of the prize bats is the bonnet bat. And that one actually is to say my analogy, like kind of like Top Gun, I say it kind of buzzed the tower. You know, it passed by enough that they picked it up. And those folks are really excited. But we do have 4 different types of bats there. Why? What's important for the bats? Bats like open area. Remember the 120 acres wetland? Open area, right? So one of the things that we're looking at, and we actually confirmed, is that we're going to have 2 educational pavilions, one to the north by the treatment plant there, and then the one to the south is that one we're now going to relocate what we call the bat houses there. Why? Because just based on the conversations that we had with the Zoo Miami expert to say, hey, bats are like us, which I didn't know. They wake up in the morning, they go, oh, morning time, they're thirsty. So they said it's better for them to be right next to that lake, right next to the lake, right next to Cutler Cay, where the parking lot's going to be. So that's something that we're really excited about. We're talking to them about having really innovative ways of putting bat houses there, a webcam, a 24-hour webcam as well. So that's going to draw more attention, more public awareness to that park. As well as a lot of the restoration efforts that we're going to be doing there with the landscaping. So we're working closely with our friends from Zoo Miami to finalize believe it or not, there's 2 different types of bat houses, you know, for the regular type of bats, they call it, and then the bonnet bats has a different type of house, you know, but they could be in the same location, but different type of houses. So, I mean, also we become bat experts, you know. I went from arsenic to bats. I mean, you know, that's my day. That's my day, arsenic to bats, you know. So one of the things we talked about, we talked about the 8.5 acres that we acquired. Obviously, we talked about the 16 acres that we acquired. The most recent acquisition is 3.5 acres right on Old Cutler and 87th Avenue there. And folks, all 3 have what? Arsenic. There you go. Right. But only one has it in the water, which is 16 acres. Okay. But the others do also well because they've been farmed. Okay, so believe it or not, the 3.5 acres has a little bit of lead as well, but in my luck. So now it's arsenic with a little bit of lead, right? They think that's probably from the historical use of the site with fireworks and what have you. I know that's what the environmental folks are telling me now, but I'm like, guys, how much? How much to clean up? That's what we're doing right now. So we're working on those. This is a property on 87th Avenue, Old Cutler Road, recently renamed to Veterans Park. So a lot of folks say, what's it going to be? It's not going to be 110 units. It's going to be Veterans Park. In fact, our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee that Vice Mayor Callahan is the liaison for, they actually started, I call it doodling on a map, doing a little master plan, what they think the vision is going to be, kind of like so they can make some kind of a recommendation to the town council, but we know it's going to be a passive park. Okay, somewhere where we could just kind of like reflect the men and women that serve this country and continue to serve this country at Veterans Park. So there's a lot of ideas that are being tossed around at the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Again, you want to get involved, go onto our newsletter. They meet once a month. Mauricio, when is that the meeting? It's always set. Mondays. It's the first Monday of the month. The first Monday of the month. So again, if you follow us, you know, on social media and or our new newsletter, those meetings are public meetings, so you can certainly, you know, welcome to attend those meetings. They're held here in the second floor of the community room. So the 8.5 acres, 16 acres, 3.5 acres, it's a total of 28 acres, but most importantly, we took away 618 units of development rights along Old Cutler Road. So that's something that, yes, it does come with a price, with the soil remediation, but what's the alternative? Not buy versus the remediation versus having the 600 units. Those are development rights that they have there. So wetland restoration project, we kind of talked about it a little bit, which is the 53 acres there that we have a grant for to do the restoration there, but more importantly, put in the nice guardrails there to prevent, you know, folks, you know, going mudding and illegal dumping there. So that road continues to be closed. It's I call it temporary road closure there from South Florida Water Management District. So that section of 97th Avenue is closed because they're literally reconstructing the area there. I know that a lot of council members took a tour of the site. This is, they call the Biscayne Bay Coastal Wetland Cutler Flowway Project. And again, as you see, there's just a graphic. Really, if I could explain that, it's really taking some of that water on that canal underneath 97th Avenue, down parallel to 232, underneath 87th Avenue to hydrate over 500 something wetlands that are there. So a lot of folks say, hey, what's going on with down 87th Avenue? What are they building there? Well, they're going to build a canal. The trees you see being removed are a lot of the invasive species that are there, which is part of the project. And again, this is kind of like the flowway that's going to be there to take a lot of that water out and hydrate those acres there. And here's a nice drone footage, a drone photo of it, which is going to be a concrete line canal to convey the water from that canal that empties out to Black Point across 97th, across 87th Avenue. On 87th Avenue, it's going to be directional boring. So we want to make sure that 87th Avenue remains open. So that's a busy corridor there. So they're going to be spending the extra money to go ahead and do directional boring there. Again, the completion date, according to South Florida Water Management District, is September 2025. Folks, this is an $81 million project. It's called SERP, Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan. Okay, that is that project is literally one of the most expensive projects happening right now in Dade County with South Florida Water Management, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. So that's something that we have presentations there, you know, as well. If you call my office, we'd be more than happy to provide you the link to that date. There's a video presentation that was done by South Florida Water Management District regarding that. And what we're also excited about is some of the recreational features that are going to be there. This intersection here is the intersection of 97th Avenue, just between 224 and 232. One of the things we were able to negotiate with South Florida Water Management District is to have a observation deck, as you can see there, that oversees, I call it the stage, the 53 acres that we're restoring there. But not only that, there's going to be a nice restroom facility, a parking, and a little pavilion there as well for a lot of the folks that want to sit there and watch we have a lot of weekend birding folks, birders, as they call them, birders. I think it's important also to tap into this resource because we have the two coast academies at the Cutler Bay Middle and Cutler Bay High School. So that way these kids don't have to go all the way to the Everglades to see this type of quality birds. They're right here in our own backyard. So any questions to this point from the audience?
No questions.
All right, man, we're doing extra bonus time here, man. Let's go. We just keep rolling. Let's do this. Okay, so I think one of the things I wanted to talk about, and it's very important to the mayor and town council, as well as myself, is the relationship that we have with different types of agencies, right? We can't do this by ourselves, okay? We have the federal, state of Florida, Miami-Dade County, and Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Let's start with the federal. We have Congresswoman Mario Elvira Salazar, who's been very helpful to the town. We actually secured $4.4 million for Marlin Road. Remember, it's currently under design, but we already secured through a federal appropriation, 4.4 for the construction of it. We also secured $1 million for the Saga Bay community. As you recall, 3 years back when we had that torrential downpour of 26 inches in 3 days. You remember seeing the mayor and myself there on the local media and trying to pump out the lake in Saga Bay. So we kind of turned that bad news into a positive note, and we were able to secure $1 million to put in a big pipe from that lake to hydrate the wetlands. So as the lake level raises, instead of flooding into people's garages, it'll flood the wetlands. Easier said than done, right? I mean, because you got to go through a lot of environmental permitting, but we were able to secure $1 million from Congressman Salazar for that appropriation. The $1.1 million Lakes by the Bay community, if you follow us to the last council meeting, there was a reconciliation bill that was passed by Congress that eliminated this 1.1 million, but also eliminated all of the community projects from all the state representatives and Congress folks. So this $1.1 million was there and it was deleted literally, I think it was maybe like 3 weeks ago. Huh? I don't know who it was, but whoever it was, not our friend, but I think the good thing about it is if there's any good news about that, it was every congressional district in the United States was all the community projects were done. But this was her priority that she put in for us, and it passed through the House and the Senate subcommittees, and it was literally at the reconciliation bill. So We're going to try it again. In fact, if you follow us at our council meeting, we had our federal lobbyist, Jim Davenport, report this to the council that we're still going to work closely with her to try to get that back in this fiscal year as well. So we got some good news, but I want to let you know about that because even to get to that point, it took a lot of help with Congressman Salazar and a lot of work from town staff and our federal lobbyists. We also have Senator Alexis Calatu, Senate District 38. We just recently went up to Tallahassee. Felt like months ago, but it's like a couple of weeks ago. We went up to Tallahassee, talked about our state legislative priorities. Again, folks, we had a workshop regarding our state priorities here, so you could follow that through. Our first priority was the Emergency Operations Center, where we talked about at the 16 acres, and then we also have Legacy Park brownfield soil remediation, trying to get some of that help from the state as well through different types of direct appropriations to help us pay off that $12.8 million. And then we also had these other projects. The reason why I highlighted those two, because those have been our first two priorities, is talking to our federal lobbyists and feeling the temperature. Why do we go up there to Tallahassee? We sit there and not only talk to our folks, but we also were able to talk to different types of senators to let them know about who Cutler Bay is, why the soil remediation project is important. And we were able to talk to Senator Trunow. We had a great conversation with Senator Trunow. We also had a great conversation with Appropriation Chair, House Representative McClure, as well. So folks, the reason why I say these names, because they don't know us, we don't know them. That's why we do the introduction there, because it makes a big impression when we go up there and show them our package, what we have in terms of why it's important. Because listen, they get the next person in the room coming in. We develop a nice package for it. There's been some videos that have been posted by Rod. We were sitting there recognizing them, and we also have Representative Omar Blanco, our House District 115. Again, same priorities. Police Emergency Operations Center, Legacy Park Brownfield. Both of these elected officials that work directly for you as well made those two priorities their priorities. They could only have so many projects they could submit. And then we also had these other projects that we had Southwest 207, water quality improvement. We had the Lakes by the Bay as well. We had Active Adult Series programs. We had the US 1 Economic Development Plan, and we had the Bel Air Park building improvements. Those are equally important, but when they had to sit there and say, provide us our top two, that was our top two right there. That's our top ask. The other ones are equally important, but we're also going to look at a different type of grants for that as well. Then I mentioned a couple of times already, our Commissioner Cohen-Higgins that we've been working closely with. We talked about the Southplace City Center, which is the pedestrian bridge we talked about. She was able to secure funding for the county to do what's called the PD&E study. We're also working closely with her office and Miami-Dade County, Durham for Southwest 216th Street. The folks that live there, the area between Old Cutler Road and 97th Avenue. Any type of little rainstorm, it's completely flooded. So they're working closely with the county. The plan's already been designed. And in fact, they have federal appropriation as well for that. So we're working closely with them to make sure that that project gets done. We talked about the eel property, the purchase of the approximately 2 acres for our Coastal Ridge Preserve, which is 8.5 acres that we're working closely with Commissioner Cohen-Higgins to see if we could secure the rest of that funding so we can come back to the council and bring back that deal of $1.8 million we spoke about. And then also we talked about Marlin Road. Marlin Road, it's currently under design. To recall, we got $4.4 million from Congressman Salazar for the budget to do the roadway improvement. Our Public Works Director, Alfredo Quintero, and our Assistant Public Works Director, Vega, did a great job, and they were able to secure approximately 4 months ago another $1 million towards the construction through an FDOT grant. So we're working with Miami-Dade County to see if we could come up with another plan to come up with what's called the joint participation agreement for that. We're also working with school board member Luisa Santos, who's also a proud town resident. We're working on what's called a joint use agreement for the use of the open fields and courts at both Cutler Bay Middle, which is approximately 12.6 acres, and Cutler Bay High, which is approximately 5.1 acres. There is the area that we'll have a formal agreement with Miami-Dade County Public Schools that we're working through our Education Advisory Committee that's chaired by Councilmember Duncan regarding the agreement that needs to be signed. As you recall, if you attend any of our special events at Cutler Ridge Park, the soccer field, it's actually school board property. That's Cutler Ridge Elementary School. We call it the Mike Bond Field, but that's actually a school property. So we're trying to secure that open space from Miami-Dade County Public Schools. But also we're having some conversation at the Education Advisory Committee level regarding the potential funding for, we call the COAST, which is the Oceanic Academy of Science and Technology, right? At both Cutler Bay Middle and High School. If you recall early on, I had a roundtable meeting with the real estate folks, and one of the things that they loved is the area schools. And one of the things that we're very proud about that's unique to Cutler Bay is the Coast Academy. The Coast Academy, unlike, say, Mast Academy, it's a completely different type of curriculum. It's operated by Miami-Dade County School. It's unique to Cutler Bay. So we want to make sure that continues to be unique. So we're having this conversation with Miami-Dade County Public Schools to see if we could come up with some funding so we could secure a minimum 50% of the students that attend those academies at both the middle school and the high school are town of Cutler Bay residents. So that's something that we're working closely with her, and hopefully we'll have something good to report. And then also something that we've been working closely with the Miami-Dade County Schools behind the scenes is we have what's called the adult night classes at Cutler Bay High. This is something that we're going to start offering. Some of it's going to be free of charge to our active adults. There's going to be fitness classes. There's going to be technology classes, art classes, and wellness classes right there at Cutler Bay High School there at night. So some of the upcoming events that we have. So we have our summer camp, commercial plug. We just opened up registration for our summer camp that's being run over at Cutler Ridge Park. We have an Earth Day event coming up this Saturday at Cutler Ridge Park. We also have a food truck night on April the 4th on Friday night. But again, some of the other items that we have working closely with Miami-Dade County Public Works Department this coming Thursday in this room here from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, we're working with our friends from Miami-Dade County Public Works at what's called transit-oriented development. That is all the different types of development that could occur along the transit way there, and looking at different economic development opportunities, going back to what you mentioned about, how do we get the jobs here? And also looking at the different types of pedestrian-friendly type of urban setting that we have along that transit corridor. That's the vision for the transit corridor. Again, that's something that's being done and funded by Miami-Dade County. When it's that type of partnership, we will gladly host those types of meetings here at the town of Cutler Bay. So again, just kind of recap ways that we can communicate with the town. Folks, we have 11 council meetings, third Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. this very same room. We have the budget workshops, just, be aware of in the newspaper and just kind of follow us. We have the 2 mandated by the state, and we have the 3 that we have workshops over and above the state mandate. We have the 2 open mic nights. Thank you for participating tonight, March, and again in August. We have over 17 signature events. We have anytime you can email, call us. We have the direct messaging that, Rod Gibson, my communication manager, I think, I don't know if it's fortunate or lucky or unlucky. His office is like literally 6 feet from my office. So I know exactly what's hot, what's not. We have our monthly e-newsletters, which actually, got updated. It's almost bi-weekly now, right? We're doing that bi-weekly now. And obviously the service request, I call it, who do I email at 3 o'clock in the morning on the website as well. So any questions? Any questions? Yep, come on up and then we'll have online.
Questions online.
Sure, we're broadcasting. Okay, Kevin, come on up.
Question, what's coming, anything new coming to town, like retail, restaurants? Any permits pulled? I know we had Pub Grill just no longer with us, so we're like losing some. Are we gonna get anything back?
Okay, stay tuned. Stay tuned. I think there's a lot of good enough buzz going on in the town. I could tell you as your town manager, we've been heavily recruiting different types of restaurants, right? So all this kind of plays in part, right? One, when we were sitting there, recruiting types of restaurants, we would sit there and point at the Field of Dreams, right? It was where the old, no Publix there, right? Just a field. Right now there's a Publix, so now there's more items that you can see there. I think there's a big buzz in the development community. Number one, the big gorilla in the room is a $1.5 billion investment by Southland Mall, right? That's real money. So that's something that they have there. Also, the fact that there's a couple of buildings that still need to be built at at the public shopping center where the monument sign is on Marlon Road, there's a little empty field there, 1 acre. That's one building. And then just, I call it where the AT&T building is, right in the middle. There's two buildings that need to be built. They're 4,000 square foot each. And that one I could tell you without revealing anything. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. The Dragonfly, we call it Dragonfly, on 216 on Old Cutler Road. Stay tuned as well. Just, speaking to those developers. And I think a lot of it has to go back to what we try to create with the realtors and a lot of things that we do as a town, the roadway improvements, right? Some of the other departments, code enforcement, public works, all these things kind of come into place because why? The realtors that sit there and talk to realtors, folks, you are the folks that are selling somebody the dream to spend $1.8 million on Old Cutler Road for new houses. That's the price they're going for, 1.8. Right? So those folks will sit there and going to demand, we want to have some type of high-end restaurants, what have you. Well, folks, what do the restaurants look at when you start looking into recruiting? What's the home sales? What's the average income, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that starts coming into place. So that's why you'll see a lot of activity coming soon on Old Cutler Road and a lot of activity, obviously, at the mall as well. For that. So yes, there's a lot of positive news there coming as well. So I heard the bing. That means we have an online question. All right. Romy.
Yes, we have a resident asking, when is the town going to address the mobile homes being moved into the backyards of homeowners for rental purposes?
Great. So there's, okay, so we don't allow mobile homes. The definition of mobile home, we don't allow any mobile homes in the town of Cutler Bay. So mobile home doesn't have tires, right? So if you have a travel trailer with wheels, it is illegal. You could put that in your backyard. You could hook it up to electricity, but not water or sewer connection. Now, we do know that some folks like, renting those out, right? And we know because we have over 700 cases, not about trailers, but we have over 700 active code compliance cases, over 700 cases right now. I could tell you that if there's that specific case, you could either call us or DM, Rod, and we'll investigate that. But I mean, yeah, folks, we know what's going on. Average rent's about $1,200 a month. Travel trailer, not a mobile home. Travel trailer. I'll show you examples where we caught one with a crane putting over the house. It's amazing what your neighbors send us. Right? So I've seen it all. That's why I said I know the going rate, $1,200. So if we see them, they have to go through the fine process. So again, there's 700 folks that think we're doing too much code compliance. So we do have 700 cases there, and in fact, that's something that just please provide us the address. We take all those matters very seriously. We'll investigate each one. And there might be already an active case.
There's no more questions.
No, come on, it can't be. Man, really? All right. Well, folks, any other questions? I know there's been a great exchange of information here. I mean, we went from, arsenic to community development to a lot of the, roadway traffic to the parallel arms and the BRT. And, again, on behalf of the mayor and council, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule on Saturday. We went over a little bit, but I love going over versus cutting out sooner. So, thank you. And again, we're going to be reposting this presentation. Right after, we're going to be reposting the presentation because I mean, a lot of the realtors that we spoke to about would like to also, send it off to their Facebook groups and what have you. And again, as I always like to say that I always like ending it where if you think that there's a homeowner association that we'd like to reach out to or a group or what have you, please, let us know. We'd be more than happy to go out there. As you saw where I went to Holy Rosary, Mercedes-Benz, I do a lot of different homeowner association. I think a lot of it's just getting information out. So once again, on behalf of the mayor and town council, thank you for attending tonight. And this concludes it. Thank you.